Jackson County. He's the individual who spearheaded the search for an emergency notification system after the apparent failure of the previous emergency notification system which became evident during the Deer Ridge fire. But an emergency notification system is actually designed as an opt-in system by the public so that in case there is an emergency and they want to be notified and they want to provide a cell phone number or an email address or a home phone, telephone number, those kinds of things. Mark spearheaded the search for this new system, and I believe that he would be pleased to describe some of the features as well as the county's collaboration and their feelings on the system as well. And if I don't answer your question on what the emergency notification system is, after Mark's gone through some of the features, we'll stand by for further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Doug, and Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Appreciate the opportunity to be here, answer your questions. Also wanted to thank Doug and the other members of city staff that we worked with to put this partnership together. It's important to the County Board of Commissioners and the County Administrator that we find opportunities to work together between the cities and the county to do things more efficiently, to increase communication and collaboration, and I think this is a great example of that. As Doug mentioned, the emergency notification system has a couple aspects to it. One is it does a much better job of the old functionality we had in the system, which is a feature called Reverse 911. In other words, it can make a call to anybody who has a landline telephone and deliver a recorded message, for example, an evacuation of an area that's in danger of fire. And then the part that Doug mentioned, the opt-in registration, allows people to go to a website and put in additional contact information so that they can get more types of notifications and so that they can get notifications delivered to them in a more efficient manner that makes sense for them. And why that's important is, for example, there's an increasing number of people who don't have a landline telephone anymore. They only have a cell phone at home. And people may have different ways that they want to be notified that are more effective. If your house is about to catch on fire and we call the landline telephone at your house and you're at work, that doesn't do you much good. So this system has the capability of notifying you in a variety of ways, and you get to choose which ways you want to be notified. And so it's far superior to the old system. Also has a lot more capacity than the old system. We could call every single household in the county within about an hour and a half. So.
In addition, I really don't know why they call it an emergency notification system, because the system could be used for example, for calling out individuals in the city if there were an emergency and we had a calling pattern and we needed to call this number of individuals and they would in turn call other individuals, et cetera. That can be accommodated with this system as well.
Other questions?
So,
please.
So if you had an Amber Alert or something, you would be able to notify everybody in the city that wanted to, that was on the base, plus those that optionally selected to join?
Yes. Yeah. You could do that.
But the Amber Alert also is going to be broadcast emergency broadcast system. That's what one of the things EBS is designed to do, because you have a local television station here that is the originator, and that's a statewide issuance, and the Amber Alert has to meet different parameters in order for it to qualify to go out on that. This is one where they're going, one of the rare instances where they're going to cross as far as their ability to notify people. I don't know that we're going to see this particular system used a lot for an Amber Alert, because then you're going to use that. It has to be done on a mass basis for the entire county. You couldn't do it like for the Deer Ridge fire, they were talking about a targeted calling segment area, and that's where the system broke down, I think. If Lost Creek Dam was hypothetically to give way, that would be a county-wide initiation where every landline and every manner in which people have opted in and said, I want to be communicated with this way, whether it's an email or a cell phone, that system would systematically go through and dial all of those numbers or send all of those emails so that every citizen heard the same information so that everybody was reacting in the same way. But an emergency broadcast system is more designed for a much larger, broader net to be cast than what this is typically going to be used for.
Yeah, that is correct. And actually, you're touching on another advantage of this system that we've secured here, and that is that it does have a geographical information systems component where we can actually draw on a map just the area that we want for all of those that have opted in for contact.
That's outstanding.
There's one other feature that they didn't mention, having gone through the training with them, that is a unique feature, which is it allows you to opt in as an individual with multiple locations. So someone like myself who lives in Shady Cove, has a son who goes to school in Eagle Point, and I work in Medford, I can put all of those locations so that if it happens in that region, I still get that information.
Mm-hmm. And the system is prepared to confirm your receipt of the communication. So it will keep trying until it knows that it's got through to you.
Will this be based at Emergency Communications Southern Oregon out at the airport, or is this a whole different redundant, or not a redundant system, but a whole different system?
Yeah, this will be housed at Jackson County, although individuals here will have access to that solution. So we'll go ahead.
Jackson County is the customer of record with the company that provides this service, but it's actually an internet-based service, and city staff will have equal access to it, as do Jackson County staff. City of Ashland is also a partner, and City of Central Point is also interested, but any of the city participants in the system would have access to it from anywhere.
Yeah.
Mr. Strasser?
Could you help me a little bit with some current information? You know, in days gone by, the viability of cell service, usually the systems went offline due to the impact in instance. What's the state of the art now? How viable is the cell system if that's going to be a component of the notification? Will it get overloaded and fail, or will it be able to...
Well, one of the nice things about this system is that it allows multiple communication paths. So if a particular cell phone carrier went down, or all the cell phone carriers went down, there's other ways that people can register to be communicated. So there's landline telephones, there's email, there's text messaging, there's cell phones. And ideally, we would want citizens to register multiple paths so that if your cell phone carrier happened to lose their tower in your area, we could still get through to you via another path.
Well, and many of the mediums you mentioned actually use some of the cellular, but would they not overload the circuits, in your opinion?
Yeah, in talking with the manufacturer, we went through an RFP process to understand the capabilities of the system. And one of the nice features of this particular provider, the company is called Everbridge, is that they have throttling mechanisms built into their system. And so they can make far more calls than the local telephone facilities can handle. And so the software basically senses how it's doing, whether it's getting blocking, and it will pace itself in order to avoid overloading the local systems. Now, if the local systems go down, there's really nothing we can do about it. If a fire takes out a cell phone tower, then we're stuck.
Yeah, admittedly, some of my information and knowledge is somewhat dated due to advancing age or whatever, but it used to be those circuits got so overloaded they just blew out in an instant. And hopefully we're past that. I'm hearing some hopeful things from you.
Well, and a lot of the cell companies now, they would boast numbers higher than 90% redundancy on their cell sites. And with the improved performance that's available via technology improvements, the throughput actually on those systems is far better than it once was.
Yeah, well, I say, at times, the cell phone, which some people thought was the all and end all for communication if landlines failed, turned out to fail right along with the rest of them.
Mr. Gordon?
No.
Oh,
I'm just excited. I didn't know this. I'm glad I asked the question.
very good. Other questions for either Mr. Townsend? Okay. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further council discussion, Glenda, would you call the roll, please?
John Michaels?
Yes.
James Kuntz?
Yes.
Greg Jones?
Yes.
Dick Gordon?
Yes.
Al Densmore?
Yes.
Karen Blair? Yes. Chris Corcoran?
Yes.
Bob Strasser?
Yes.
There are 8 yes votes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. This is agenda item 60.3 then, please, Mr. Huddle.
Thank you, Your Honor. Council 60.3 is Council Bill 2011-137, an ordinance amending the rules and regulations for executive, supervisory, and confidential professional employees pertaining to salaries, benefits, and other provisions.
Thank you. Mr. Michaels.
Move adoption of 60.3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Council discussion of this item? Mr. Gordon?
In view of the discussion in the agenda item commentary concerning health insurance, I really think that we should probably review this issue again once the health insurance direction is determined.
Mr. Dial.
Just as a reminder, the insurance we have now expires December 31st. So there will be a decision made this fall as to what course to pursue come January 1st.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh.
And that's why I think we need to be involved in review at an appropriate time.
Mr. Dial.
In the sense of the fiscal impact?
Yes.
That's what I thought you meant. Thank you.
Further council discussion? Seeing none, Glenda, would you call the roll, please?
John Michaels?
Yes.
Dick Gordon?
Yes.
Bob Strasser?
Yes.
Greg Jones?
Yes.
Karen Blair? Yes. James Coons?
Yes.
Al Dinsmore?
Yes.
Chris Corcoran?
Yes.
There's 8 yes votes, Your Honor.
Very good. That concludes ordinances and resolutions for the day. Agenda item 70, city manager and other staff reports. Mr. Dial.
Thank you, Mayor. John Adams is going to come to the podium and describe or give a report to council on the actions of the Jackson County Planning Commission regarding the regional problem-solving process, which, as you know, has been ongoing for several years, because they've changed what the City Council had labored over and the Planning Commission prior to that. And the changes are significant, and their decision, which if you saw it in the newspaper last week, was a 3-2 decision. Now we'll head to the County Commission, and we want to suggest to you that there may be some actions desired or desirable by the City Council in regards to the decision that will yet be made by the County Commission, and then has to come back here for your ratification again. John, would you proceed, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Dial. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the Council. I'm here today to give a report, as Mr. Dial said, on the results of the action by the Jackson County Planning Commission. I'll start off just by running through the map very quickly. If you have it to the side, there's two sides to it. The side that shows the entire city. There's a detail on the back, but look at the one with the entire city. Starting at the north, they extended MD1 by 486 acres. Going clockwise and around the city, there was a small addition in MD5 down in the southwest that the city had agreed to a little over a year ago now in the resolution that was sent to the county. And that was 20 acres, a lot that was essentially split by the growth area that had been proposed before. They deleted that one from proposal. MD6 in the vicinity of Bear Creek Corporation, they deleted that, which is 133 acres. The mid portion of MD7, and then over on the west side, there was a deletion of 10 acres and then 2 additions. Property owned by Mr. Brooks, 20 acres, and then property west of the urban growth boundary, up to and actually including the Hollywood subdivision, and totaling 185 acres. The motivation for those additions over on the west side were because of some property owners who had come to their meetings and had asked them to consider them for inclusion. Quite a few changes, and as you can see, that actually raises the total amount of land that the city was proposing. And at this point, I think that we have a couple of options.